So I've started recording. Let's start with the today's topic. So which is the fourth session. This is our fourth session for software distribution, right? So today basically I wanted to cover about different types of distribution points. Then we wanted to look into the application catalog part, and finally install the reporting services point, right? So distribution point. So one of you, can you please tell me what is the main role of distribution point? What does a distribution point do?
It distributes the content, the package or the application to the various client systems.
Okay. So whenever you're creating a package or application, so you're staging that package or application on a file server. It's kind of you can consider it as a file server kind of, right? It is a storage area, a location where you can uh, distribute the source files, the binaries of any application, so that when the client machine in that particular region, in that particular boundary, when the client machine requests for um, an application, okay, it downloads from this distribution point and it installs, right? So distribution point's main role is that. Now we already know about the standard DP, standard distribution point. Now let's talk about a pre-staged DP. What is a pre-staged DP? Okay, say suppose today you have some 500 applications, okay, and you have some 10 DPs across the globe, okay. Now these 500 applications are already distributed to these 10 DPs. Let me tell you, it's not mandatory that all applications and all packages needs to be distributed to all distribution points, not required. For example, if you have an application like AutoCAD, okay, say suppose it is some 3 GB package, 3 GB, okay, and I told you have 10 DPs, right? Out of these 10 DPs, so let's assume that these 10 DPs are at 10 different in 10 different countries, right? So say suppose I have India, okay, I have then UK, Australia, so something like this. I have some 10 countries. So out of these 10 countries, I don't want AutoCAD in, say suppose, Australia. Okay, AutoCAD is not required in Australia, and say suppose even in some UAE, Saudi Arabia also. Say suppose I don't need it. Then you don't need to distribute the AutoCAD to all 10 DPs. You'll distribute it only to the 8 DPs, right? So whenever you are distributing an application, you are unnecessarily consuming the bandwidth, okay, and also you are consuming the footprint on that server, the disk storage on that server, okay. So only if you know for sure that the client machines in that particular boundary will they require or they might require in future, in near future, if you know, then it makes sense to distribute it, otherwise don't do it, okay. So now let me take this example, like you have 500 applications and you have 10 DPs. Tomorrow your customer tells you that, okay, I have a new location in US, so in a new location like I have in Pittsburgh, okay, so let me call it as PI, okay. In Pittsburgh they wanted to create one more new DP, okay, and they know that at least out of this 500 applications some 400 apps are required, okay. This is a new DP that you're building up. Now say suppose if you build a standard DP, okay, so a standard DP is created there, and then what you need to do is you have to go to each one of these 400 applications, right click, say distribute content, and there you have to add this new DP, the 11th DP, right? So it is going to be a tedious task if you have to do that for all the 400 applications. So instead of that, what you can do is you can convert this DP into a pre-staged DP. So there is a checkbox. So when you check that, you make this DP as a pre-staged DP. Now what you will do, you will take the backup from a standard DP. Okay, so you can create a pre-staged content. So using pre-staged content, you will take a backup from a standard DP for 400 applications. So something like backup for 400 apps. Now, after you take that backup for 400 applications, you'll copy that content to this 11th DP. Okay, directly you are copying the content. Once you copy the content, okay, so this it will means basically you are extracting, you are taking a backup, copying it onto the pre-stage DP. Then there is a self-extractor kind of exe. When you run that exe, it will extract all this content and put it on the pre-stage DP. Once it is there on the pre-stage DP, then a validation process will run. So what will happen in a validation? It will only check whether the content available on this pre-stage DP and the content available on any other DP are one and the same. If it finds that both are the same, that there is no hash file mismatch, exactly the same files are already there, then it will not copy these applications. So that way, now on the pre-stage DP, all the 400 applications are there, and you no need to go to the console and go to each DB, each application and right click and say distribute to the 11th DP. All you are doing here is you're manually copying the content, okay, and then since since SCCM knows that this DP is pre-stage DP, it understands that somebody had manually copied the content over there, so it will not again copy. All it will do is it will check the hash file mismatch. If there is no hash file mismatch, then it will say that okay, the pre-stage DP now have 400 applications and I have checked that there is no hash file mismatch, and it will give you a final report that everything is successful. Then what you will do is you will uncheck the pre-stage DP. So initially you're checking that point, later you will uncheck the pre-stage DP, right? So this way you are creating a pre-stage DP only when you need to create only when you are bringing up a new DP into your environment. That's when this pre-stage DP will help. Okay. So Sai or Manju, any questions in this pre-stage DP?
No.
Manju, is it clear for you? So
Yep.
to show you, so what I'm talking here is, see, this has all these components, right? So one of the component it has is a distribution point. Now you go to a distribution point, which is my SCM. Go to the properties. So this TP, you don't have the checkbox. Enable this distribution point for pre-staged content, right? So since this is not since this is not um, a pre-staged DP, here whenever you're right clicking any application and saying distribute content, it will be actually distributed, right? But whereas once you select it as a pre-staged DP, DP, then what you can do is you can manually copy the content from any other DP, okay, to the pre-staged DP, and then only the validation part will happen. So as you can see, if you go to any application, let me take any one example and go to properties. Sorry, yeah, I have to go to the properties and show you the distribution settings. So it says this the normally we know how the package will get copied, but it is telling you here how it should behave for a pre-stage distribution point. It says, should I automatically download the content when packages are assigned to a pre-stage distribution point, or download only the content changes to the DP, or manually copy the content in this package to the DP? You have to manually copy, right? So whenever there is a pre-staged DP, it assumes that the content will be manually copied. So it will not do any copy. It will not directly start distributing the content to your Pittsburgh server, right? And how do you create that 400 applications backup? How do you do that? So say suppose you have two applications here. So you'll select these two applications, right? Right click and you say create pre-staged content file. So this way you can select all 400 applications and you can say create a pre-staged content file. That will have all these 400 applications binaries. Just copy it to that onto the pre-staged content DP and double click so it gets extracted and it will create the library on that particular pre-staged DP. Is it clear, guys? Good morning, Amar. I see you joined late.
Yeah, Manohar, I just overslept.
No problem, buddy. So I was just explaining them on the pre-stage thing. So let me just give a 2 minutes overview so that if Manju and Sai have any doubts, even that gets cleared. So basically, all the DPs that we create are standard DPs, right? Whereas today we are discussing about what is a pre-stage DP. So I'm giving you an example. Let's assume that we have 500 applications and you have 10 distribution points, right? And let's assume that all these applications are distributed to these 10 DPs. Okay. Now tomorrow if a new distribution point is set up, okay, ideally what you have to do is say suppose that new DP requires only 400 apps out of 500. It's not mandatory that it requires all the 500 applications. Maybe the users in that particular boundary they require only 400 applications. So what you'll do is ideally you have to go to each and every application, say distribute content, and then you have to select this new Pittsburgh server, right? So that way it's a manual activity for you going to each and every application and distributing to this DP, right? And on top of that, what's the additional thing is all these 400 applications are consuming the bandwidth, right? And SCCM, there's a lot of overload on SCCM that it has to distribute 400 applications to the DP, to the Pittsburgh DP. Right. So, and SCCM has its own limitations, like it cannot push all the 400 applications at a time. There are certain number of maximum number of packages that it can do, and there are maximum number of threads that it can do. So I will also show you that a little bit later. So when there is a limitation on how many packages it can send in at a given point of time, then by the time it finishes 400 applications, it will take ages. Okay. So that's one thing. So there is a lot of bandwidth consumption, there is a performance overload, and then you have to select manually to distribute all this application to all 400 applications to this DP, right? So to avoid that, first step is like to instead of selecting 400 applications to all the individual DPs, what you can do is add this DP to a DP group. Say suppose you have for each country if you have a DP group, and Pittsburgh is in US, right? So if US you have a US DP group, right? And US DP group have already 400 apps targeted to them. Now what you'll do, you'll add Pittsburgh DP to US DP group. The moment you add Pittsburgh DP to US DP group, it will understand that it has to send 400 apps to this. But even before adding this to a DP group, what you'll do is you'll make this checkbox, which will tell that this is my Pittsburgh DP and this DP is a pre-staged DP. So you will checkbox this, right? So the moment you check it, so it will understand it's a pre-staged DP, and these 400 applications that I was talking here, though they are targeted to US DP group and your Pittsburgh DP is part of that, they will not distribute it. What they will do, they understand that these applications will be manually copied to that Pittsburgh DP, right? So now what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to select all the 400 applications in the console, right click and say create a pre-staged content file, and then you'll copy that pre-staged content file onto the pre-staged DP. Okay, you double click it so it will extract the content there, and since already 400 apps are targeted to it, what it will do, it will do a validation check, just a hash file mismatch check, which will not consume any bandwidth. It will only check whether all these 400 applications the content has been copied correctly or not. If it finds everything has been copied correctly, then it will report back saying that all the 400 applications are available on pre-stage DP. Now what you will do is, since your DP has been built, you can remove the checkbox. This is only for when you are creating new DPs, right? So you'll unbox it, uncheck the pre-stage content thing. That completes this entire process. Guys, is it clear or do you have any questions?
So Manohar, do we have to manually copy all those applications? Uh,
Yeah, that's
and
what.
then it does a well.
Yes, exactly. So what we are trying to do here is, instead of consuming the bandwidth, right, and instead
Mhm.
of waiting for the process to take like ages, right, so what we are doing is to speed up things, we are actually taking a backup and manually copying that onto the server.
Okay.
That's the whole intent of this.
Okay.
Okay, fine then. So let's move with the other DP. So before that, I told you I'll show you the maximum number of threads and maximum number of packages a DP can handle. So this is a little bit technical, and this will help you in your architect or designing the DP thing. So what you'll do is you'll go to sites. Okay, so site components, you have here your software distribution. So when you click here, you can see maximum number of packages are 3 and maximum threads per package are 5. So what does this mean? This means that, say suppose I have, guys, can you just give me some 5 application names? I'll take Adobe Reader 1, Google Chrome, VLC, 7-zip. Give me one more.
Office.
Okay, Office 2016. Right, so you have 5 applications now. And let's assume that I have DPs in 5 different locations. So I'm taking Hyde, Bangalore, I have in Chennai, and then I have in one in NY, New York, and one London. Okay. Okay. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5. Say suppose if I take one more here, something like okay, I'll go with the previous example, like in Pittsburgh. Okay, in Pittsburgh I have one more DP. Now how many DPs I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have created these 5 applications or packages, and I started distributing all these 5 to these 6 DPs. Okay, all of them are in medium priority. Say suppose all of them are in the same priority. Now how many packages can it take is, first of all, it can take only 3 packages. So if you have created reader first, Chrome, and then VLC, and you started distributing, so it will first pick only these 3. Okay, only if any one of these packages are completed, only then it will start distributing 7-zip. It cannot go to 7-zip until unless Adobe Reader, Chrome, or VLC, any one of these have completed installing. I have completed distributing to the DP, right? So as you can see here, the maximum number of packages at any given point it can take is only 3, and maximum threads per package. Here what does threads mean? Thread means the each connectivity to a DP. Like Adobe Reader is being pushed to Hyde, Adobe Reader is being pushed to Bangalore, to Chennai, New York, London, right? So each link, each pushing is kind of one thread. So Adobe Reader is already pushing to Hyderabad, so maximum it can push is up to 5 threads per package at any given point of time. So it can start with Bangalore, Chennai, New York, and London. So it will not push to Pittsburgh until unless Hyderabad is completed. At least one of them, one of the 5 is completed. Only then it will pick the next DP. Guys, is this clear?
So Manohar, these are the standard, is it? Like
Yeah.
not more than 5, or
No, you can
is
change
it
them.
just the same?
You can change them. I'm just explaining the default values. Default values are 3 and 5. You can change them.
Okay.
If you are changing them, it will greatly impact on the performance of the server. So unless until you have a high-end server, only then you will be changing these values here, because simply by changing SCM will not just simply work. Say suppose if you make this as 10 and if you make this as say suppose 90, because you have so many DPs, That means at any given point of time, there are 900 threads which are going, 10 packages and
Right.
90. So 900 threads are going in parallel, right? So you
Yeah.
only if the backend server's hardware is supporting, only then you can make these changes. Otherwise, even if you make these changes, the server will, there will be database issues, and then the server will just crash because it cannot do 900 threads, right? So it also depends on the hardware of the server. So
Okay.
if you're going with the default one, right? If you're going with the default, so this is the funda I just wanted to explain you the concept how it will take. So it can only take based on the default setting, it can only take only three at a time, three packages and 5 DPs at a time. Right guys, so tomorrow if 7 GB is installed, you wanted to install Office 2016 to Pittsburgh. Okay, some user is waiting for Office 2016 in Pittsburgh, right? So by the time it comes to Office 2016, it has to complete Adobe Reader and all the locations, Google Chrome and all the locations, VLC. Maybe when VLC is coming, that's when Office 2016 will pick up, right? And so it is in queue. So it has to wait for all the other applications to complete in different DPs. Only then its turn will come and only then it can distribute to Pittsburgh, right? So what I'm trying to tell here is because of this kind of a lag and delay which are there, right? If just assume what about a new distribution point has come up and you wanted to distribute some 400 applications, how much time it will take by doing the simple maths of 3 into 5, 15 at a time, right? So considering all that, whenever you are having a new DP, it is always suggested to go with a pre-staged DP and just do a manual copy. So then what will happen? It will only use the thread not to copy the content, it will use the thread only to validate whether the content has been copied correctly or not. So that validation will not take much time. So immediately within 1 hour, you will find that it can check all the 400 DPs whether the content has been successfully copied or not. So that way within 1 hour you can make sure that the new DP is up and running. Am I clear guys? Okay. So one more thing. So since we are already here, let me also discuss about the retry settings. So it says number of retries are 100 and delay before retrying is 30. So what does this mean? So when it is trying to distribute the content to a DP, okay, say suppose if the DP is not up, it is shut down, or you don't have enough space on the DP, that's why it is not able to copy the content, or there is a problem with the application file name, or the path is too long, right? So like that, if it has something or other issue and it is not able to distribute the content to a DP, it will try for 100 times. Okay, and in the log you can clearly see that retrying 90 for first time, retrying 92nd time, like that it will keep on retrying for 100 times. After that it will stop distributing, right? So and for each retrial the interval is 30 minutes, right guys? So so it is giving you ample time to fix the issue. Say suppose right now you see you have distributed to one DP. After 1 hour you come back and you see that the content has not been distributed to the DP and it shows as failed. So when you go to the failure, you can find that error, right? So based on that, you'll fix that. Either there is no enough space, or the DP is shut down, or there's a network problem between the primary management point and the DP, right? Or maybe there, as I said, the problem is itself with the application or the package with the file name. There is a space in the file name, right? All the the binaries have too many folders. Sometimes what will happen, and one application like we can take the traditional example, AutoCAD. So in AutoCAD, what will happen? There will be too many folders, and within those folders again there will be so many folders. So there's a nested folders, and finally there will be one file which is under 6 or 7 levels down. So with that, what will happen when it is trying to copy from the site server to the DP? That path itself will become very long path, right? So maximum it can take up to say suppose 256 characters a path. But this one, because of C under C AutoCAD, under AutoCAD, then you have one more folder, under folder that you have one more, like that. With all these folder names, it will turn out to be more than 256 characters. Then it cannot copy that particular file to the DP and it will throw an error, right? So such kind of issues can also arise, and sometimes some of the extensions, like if the file extension within your binaries is some AXZ or something like that. Okay, that particular extension is blocked on the DP. So by default there will be some extensions which will be blocked by IAS, right? So IAS is what is being used by the distribution point. So distribution point will tell, okay, so you're trying to copy some content from your site server to here, but it has a file extension .axz or something, which by default I block it. So I'm not allowing that particular file here. So because of that also the distribution might fail. So there are so many errors why a distribution will fail. So it is giving you ample time, like it is trying for 100 times and for every 30 minutes, right? So because of that, you have so much of time and you can fix that issue, and you don't need to redistribute again. The next cycle after 30 minutes when it reruns, it will automatically copy the content over there. Is it clear, guys?
Mhm.
Okay. So the next part, which is multicast, I don't think you need it to know now. So if when we go to operating system deployments, you'll understand what is a multicast and unicast deployments. We can discuss there. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this part. You can increase this depending on your environment. If you think 5 dps at a time and 3 packets is too less, if you think in your location that should be more, you can do it. But then your hardware should support, the site servers hardware should support for concurrently managing those many threads. So if you ask me in for my clients, the maximum that I've set is 1010. That's the maximum that I've set, like 100 threads per threads concurrently. So that is for a client who has more than like um, I guess like 50 DPs. They have more than 50 DPs, 50 distribution points, and they have around some 4,000 plus applications. Okay, and they have total end users more than 80,000 end users. Okay, so in that kind of a scenario, I required 1010. So I don't think more than that is really required, because you should also think about how frequently you'll be creating new applications. If the creation of new applications is too rare, then no need to increase this, right? So let's
Then what is the configuration of the machine, the server, in that case?
I don't exactly remember the configuration of the server right now, but it should be somewhere around quad core processor, and then you have some 32 or 64 GB of RAM was there, and so hard disk doesn't matter in this case. Some hard disk was more than 2 TB or 3 TB hard disk was there, but I don't think that matters here.
Okay, so only RAM. It depends. The dependency of RAM is more. It should be.
Processor, because processor is the one which is giving those many threads, right? So simultaneous, if you are going for those many threads, your processor and then RAM. So these two things are important. Hard disk space is not that great. Okay.
Here, I got one question. Can you just right click on that system and server and site system role?
Okay.
Yeah. You, you add a site system role.
You want me to click on distribution point?
Add system site. No, below one. Yeah, click on that.
Uh-huh.
Right click.
Yes.
Should be some option like add site system rules.
Yeah, that you'll get here when you right click on the already existing thing. You'll get add site system tools. Yes.
Okay, yeah. You just click on it. Next, next. Yeah,
Mhm.
just want to know these all specific roles. What will be used? How can what
Okay.
is that?
So as and when we are progressing further, right? When I talk about reporting services, anyways, we have to come here and install the reporting services point. Tomorrow, when I talk about application
Okay.
catalog, today itself we are going to install 1, 2, and 3. For these 3, anyways, I'm going to come back here. Okay, so as and when we are
Okay.
installing any one of these services, like you require for operating system deployment, you require to enable Pixie on the existing DP. Okay, if you are installing software, if sorry, if you wanted to push the patches, then you have to install software update point. Okay, if you wanted to make sure that the user data is backed up and restored as part of operating system deployment, you have to go to state migration point. So as and when we progress the classes, anyways, we are going to touch these.
Okay. Okay, you can cancel it. I got another quick question nearby there only.
Mhm.
Just go to the top folder cloud services.
Sure.
Yeah, right click on the Microsoft Intune subscription.
Mhm.
Add. Okay, next. Yeah, I just want to know because I was just checking this sign in. So if I do this sign in, will this going to be harm anything to SCM console, or I can remove it later also because it says that permanently. So with that I was
First of all, you need
got
to
that.
have, see, first of all, you need to have a Intune subscription, Intune license, right? If you don't have that
Okay.
Intune license, you cannot use this. This is entirely based on assuming that you already have a subscription and assuming that you already have a license. If you don't have that license, then you cannot, integrate this Intune thing within your SCM environment.
If I have an account, I cannot use it also. Is it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See, if you're talking about organization in production environment, right? Not in the lab, right? When you're talking about in the production environment, Microsoft Intune, either you can use it without SCCM, that means just with Microsoft Intune and Azure services, you can use Intune, or else you can integrate Microsoft Intune with SCCM. So here the option what you're doing is kind of integrating Microsoft Intune with SCCM. In order to do that, first of all, you need to have the Intune licenses.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. Yeah, okay. Now you can cancel that. Just we cancel it. Just right click on the client settings.
Client settings. Okay.
Yeah, right click. Yeah, so I just want to know what is the difference with these two options,
Okay. Wait a minute.
where actually it will be can be
Manju,
utilized.
Manju, wait a minute,
Yeah,
wait a minute. See, we are going as per the syllabus, and as and when I'm going through the sessions, we are anyways discussing each one of these. So just now I've
yeah,
explained,
yeah.
no, no, just now I explained you about the pre-stage DP. Now I'm going to talk to you about the pull DP. So if you have any questions in pre-stage DP, you should ask me. If you are going to each and every of, the menu bars here and going into each one of them, and you want me to explain this way, I don't think we will be able to complete the sessions. So let me go by what
No,
is planned. Okay, and I have already
yeah,
explained
that's
about,
okay.
I've already explained about
That's
the,
okay. Actually, what happened yesterday? I was checking this, so I collected yesterday this question prior to this class. That's why.
okay. See, custom client device settings already we have discussed in the earlier sessions when we talked about, see, as you can see, hardware inventory for specific servers. This was created in the inventory management session. If you have any doubt on the custom client device settings, I would encourage you to go back to the hardware inventory management video and go through it. You will find an answer for this.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
fine. I'll check
Thank
it
you.
out.
Thanks, buddy. Don't take me wrong, but I don't want to deviate the class for some other questions,
Got it.
because when I
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
you,
totally. Yes.
because when I'm asking you if you have any questions, that means you have any questions on the topics that are covered, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for understanding. So let's go ahead with the next topic. So pull DP. So guys, any guesses based on the pre-stage DP that we discussed and the standard DP? Any guesses on the pull DP? What do you think a pull DP is?
different DP, something like that?
No, Manav.
Okay. So, Sai, you're saying that it might fetch the data from a different DP, right? And Amar, you said something?
Uh, no, I have no idea.
Okay,
I
no problem. Manju, you're saying something?
I think maybe I'm maybe wrong or right. I'm not sure, but I think it will may like some servers are available and there are some packages and you're when you're trying to when some requirement comes say suppose from from the A point of view you're trying to fetch some software which is not available in that DP which has in other DP but we don't have a connection so that you're trying to pull something like that.
Okay, okay. Thanks. I see that you guys are, trying to understand the subject. That's a good sign. So, yep. So one thing is for sure, as the name indicates, pull DP. Yes, it is going to pull the content from a different DP. But in what scenarios? In what scenario, and why is it required? Why do we need a pull DP? And Manju, the kind of the example that you gave is something which we discussed, which is called a preferred DP. If it is not on a preferred DP, in yesterday's session or day before yesterday's session, what we discussed is in an application you have a checkbox which says if this application is not available on a preferred DP, then download content to a preferred DP. That's what you are talking about. Okay, so say suppose my client machine is in Hyderabad. Okay, and I need Office 2016. Okay, and the client machine finds that the application is not there in the Hyderabad DP. Then what if you select the checkbox saying that go ahead and download to the preferred DP, then what this Hyderabad will do, it will understand that okay, there is a client machine which requires the package, but however it is not available on my DP. So let me go ahead and download it from the site server. It will download from the site server and provide it to the client machine. So that concept is downloading to preferred DP. That's different. Now what we are talking here is pull DP. So in the case of pull DP, what will happen is go back to the same concept of 3 and 5, right? 3 packages and 5 threads, right? Let me also open this. So now what will happen is, say suppose you have maximum number of packages a site server can send is 3 and 5. Now where is it completely depending on? I told you it is now depending on the site server. Why? Because site server is using its own resources. The site server is using its own resources, okay, to send or to push the package to to 5 different DPs and to push 3 packages at a time. So that's what it is using to do this particular thing. Some 15 threads are being consumed on the site server, right? Now what's happening here is, say suppose if you have more applications, all the applications are in queue. They're just waiting there, right? And if you have more DPs, all those DPs are just waiting for the content. So here it is fine because here we are just in a lab, but in the production environment, what will happen is when you are talking about 50 DPs, 60 DPs, and you have so many DPs spread across the globe, and you have so many applications. So every now and then something or other new application will be created, and or something or the other new DP is created, and you are distributing the content to that new DP. So always some software distribution packages will be keep on distributing in the background. That's a continuous process which will be happening in the background. So in that case, there is a lot of delay. To avoid that, what we are doing here is we'll configure certain DPs as pull DPs. Now what will happen? These pull DPs, instead of using resources on a push on a standard DP or on the site server, they'll use the resources on the pull DP. So if I take one example here, let's take my site server. The main site server is in New York. Okay, and then I'm just taking 3 DPs here. I have Hyderabad DP, I have Bangalore DP, and I have Chennai DP. Okay, I have 3 DPs. Now my point here is, if I have one application, just one package is there, very normal, we will take Office 2016 package is there. Now this package is already there on the New York server. Now if you are trying to push it to Hyderabad, Bangalore and Chennai, by default what will happen? It is using the resources on this server to push to Hyderabad, Bangalore and Chennai. Right? The same application is getting pushed to 3 different locations, and the resources which are being used are on this particular New York server. Now instead of that, if I make Hyderabad and Bangalore as the main servers, whereas Chennai this is a pull DP. Now this pull DP will not go to New York. First of all, New York is not pushing it to Chennai. It will go to its parent DP. You can select Hyderabad or Bangalore as parent DP. So it will go to Hyderabad DP. Okay, it will pull from Hyderabad DP, and that too it will not even use the resources of Hyderabad DP because it is actually pulling. So it will be using the resources on this Chennai DP. Right? So this way there is no direct load on New York. There is a load on Hyderabad. Right? Similarly, you can create multiple pull DPs under Bangalore. You can create multiple pull DPs, and if you have multiple DPs, say suppose you have London DP here, and you have one more, say suppose one you have in US. Okay, then what will happen? This Hyderabad has 3 pull DPs. I can create some new pull DPs under Hyderabad. I can create some more new pull DPs under Bangalore. Right? I can create some more under London. So this way, each one of these DPs, the 4 DPs are serving another 4 or 5 DPs underneath that. Is this clear, guys? Or do you have any questions here?
Can you repeat once? And your voice was continuously was getting break and
Oh, is it? Sorry.
here.
Sure. I'll repeat once again. So what I'm trying to say here is, you have one site server and you have some 4 DPs. Okay. Now, if you have to push Office 2016 to these 4 DPs, by default what will happen is, if you assume that there are no pull DPs, so by default what will happen, Office 2016 will use New York server's resources, okay, to create threads and then it will start distributing the same content to 4 or 5 DPs, right? So the load is on New York server now. In production environment, you will have, say suppose 50 or 60 DPs are there, right? So for all these 50-60 DPs, we'll be waiting for the first 5 DPs to complete. Only then the next 5 will get the application, right? To avoid that, what we are doing is, we are selecting some of these DPs as pull DPs. So say suppose I can put this Chennai DP as a pull DP, and I'll select that Hyderabad is your parent DP. Now Chennai is a pull DP and Hyderabad is its parent DP. So what it will do, it will not go to New York to download the content. It will go to Hyderabad to download the content. Thereby there's no load on New York server. And simultaneously they are getting it. It's not waiting for all the 5 or 100 to complete, right? Say suppose you have 60 DPs. It is not waiting for all the 59 to get to Chennai. So Chennai can simultaneously start while New York is sending to London, or New York DP, New York site service sending to US. Chennai will be simultaneously downloading it from Hyderabad. So you are downloading the content simultaneously to multiple DPs, and that too the load is not on the main site server. Are you getting my point, guys? Any questions here? Amar, Manju, Sai?
So, Manor, will this be called as peer caching or no?
No. This is not called as peer cache. Peer cache is again different.
That's a different concept.
Yep. So let me
Okay.
write down somewhere so that later I can explain. Yep. Any other questions, guys, in pull DP? Okay. So let me show that here. As you can see, it says pull distribution point thing. So here, maximum concurrent package for each pull distribution point, it can pull up to 50. Okay. So because it is a pull DP, so now Chennai can simultaneously pull 50 DPs from Hyderabad, right, guys? So that way, the concurrently, Chennai is also getting the package. It is pulling it from Hyderabad, and all the other 50 DPs that you have, they are also getting the packages from the New York server, right? So here the number of retries are 30 and delay is 20, just like earlier you had 130, 100 retries, and for every 30 minutes it will be retrying. In a pull distribution point, it will try for 30 times. These are the default values, and for every 20 minutes. And then the status polling settings. So it will be keep on sending the status, right? So that polling is like 72, and delay before polling is 60 minutes. So every 1 hour it will be doing this polling to send the status back, just like your standard management point communication, right? There also the machine policy is once in 60 minutes it will be keep on sending the status. So here also in every 60 minutes it will be keep on sending the status, and there will be like 72 polls will be there, right, guys? Is this clear?
So Manoj, when we pulls about 50 DPs, for this then should the hardware configuration be good enough or?
Yeah, so what's happening here is like the 50 packages what we are talking about, right, are being pulled by this Chennai DP. Now, say suppose tomorrow you have one more DP. Um, just give me one more example. Like you have some LHR DP is there. Now, under Hyderabad, say suppose you have Chennai as well as LHR. Okay. Now, this LHR DP is using its own resources, whatever the hardware configuration is on that, it is using its own resources to pull the content from Hyderabad. So it is not actually Hyderabad is not pushing using a using a thread there. So to give you an example, like for example, you have a server. Okay, copying from the server, you are sitting on a server, okay, copying this from the server to a client machine, to 10 client machines if you are copying the content. Okay, how does that different from you're opening 10 different client machines, and from each client machine you're copying it to that from that server? Does it make any difference, Amar?
Yes, it does make a difference because the kind of hardware are there on the client machine that will pull based on that
Exactly.
from.
So Manju and Sai,
So,
do
so
you
this
yeah, go ahead.
so this particular DP which is pulling, say Madras is pulling all the applications from Hyderabad. So Madras DP by any chance should have a different, a slightly higher configuration, or is there something specific to hardware configuration or no?
No, you can go with the default DP configuration. So
Okay.
whatever is the basic requirement. So unless and until
Okay.
you're not changing this to if more than 50, if you're making it 100 and all that, it will be slowing the process.
Mhm.
That's obvious, right? But
Right.
if you're going with the default settings of 50 DP, 50 packages, then you can go with the standard DP hardware requirements.
Okay. Right. Thanks.
Okay. So
So this is
yes, I.
only to control the control bandwidth, right?
This is to control bandwidth to save time, because all these DPs will be waiting for other DPs to complete, right? To save time
Yeah.
and control bandwidth, both of them.
Okay.
So Manju and Sai, did you get that example when I'm trying to say, like for example, you have this server, okay? From the server, if I take, if I'm connecting to my, you know, so from this server, I've opened a I'm connected to Maytest01, and say suppose I'm copying something from my server's desktop to here. Okay, so where are the resources being used? The resources are being used on the server. Say suppose if I'm going to the client machine and I'm trying to copy from the server from here, right? May Sccm. So if I'm trying to copy something from the May Sccm server to the client machine, where are the resources being used? From the client machine. So that's a whole difference here. Instead of pushing from the server, I'm trying to pulling from the client machine. So here I've taken an example of client machine. There we are talking about another distribution point. A distribution point, instead of site server pushing the content to distribution point, you are configuring in such a way that the distribution point is configured as a pull DP. So it will, instead of server pushing it, this will go and pull it. And that too, it is not pulling it from one specific server. It is not pulling from only from New York server. It is pulling from a different DP. So similarly, what will happen? Say suppose you have 50 DPs. Okay, you have one site server and 50 DPs. So instead of 50 DPs, one site server pushing it to 50 DPs, what we are doing is making a small change. One site server, I'll make some 20 standard DPs. I'll make them as parent for 30 pull DPs. And these 30 DPs, so how I'll configure them, like each standard DP will have one or two pull DPs associated with them. Now what's happening? Here the site server has all the load to push to 50 DPs. Okay, here the site server's load is only to push to 20 standard DPs, and these 30 pull DPs, for each standard DP you have one or two targeting them. That is where standard DP is also not having so much of load, pull DP is not having so much of load. Similarly, even the site service will not have. It is spread across in this below example. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So let me, yeah, we had written something here, peer cache and branch cache. So that is different, Amar. So peer cache and branch cache is, suppose you have, we'll go back to the standard example. Hyderabad, you have some 3,000 users sitting there. Okay. In Chennai, you have some 500 users sitting there. Okay. So in both the locations, you have DPs, but there is one more location which is like Pune. And in Pune you have just 50 users. Just for 50 users you will not create a distribution point there. Doesn't make any sense to you, right? Now these 50 users today they require Office, the same example, Office 2013, say suppose they require Office 2013. Now instead of your main server, so these 50 users, they should go to some other server. So what you'll do, you'll put a boundary for these 50 users. They have an IP address, right? Their IP address. So this IP address will create Pune boundary. Okay, and you'll add Pune boundary to, you should add it to any other boundary group so that it can contact to Hyderabad or Chennai. So you'll say that, okay, I'm adding Pune boundary to add Pune boundary to hide boundary group. So you know, on a boundary group you will have the SCM site server details. It is associated. Now what will happen is these 50 users, whenever they want any applications, because they are associated to Hyderabad boundary group and Hyderabad boundary group is associated with Hyderabad DP, they will go to the Hyderabad DP whenever they need any application. That's default behavior. Now what you can also do is you can enable on that particular application, you can enable for branch cache. So when you enable for branch cache or peer-to-peer cache, so what will happen, out of these 50 users, one user or one computer will first download Office 2013. After that, this will be giving the application whenever the second machine requires. For all 49 computers, they'll start downloading from this one computer. Or as and when out of these 49 computers, as and when new computers have downloaded, the other computers will start downloading from them. This way, what we are trying to do is the communication between the computers which are in Pune is over the LAN, whereas the communication from first computer to Hyderabad DP is over WAN. So instead of 50 machines downloading over the WAN, the Office 2013 package, right? Only one computer will first download, and rest 49 computers will download the content from that one computer over LAN. So this is called peer cache. Clear, Amar?
Yes, Manoj.
No, I am not still clear. Maybe.
Sure, Manju. Tell me what is that you understood so that I'll take it from there.
No, I didn't understood anything.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you have three different locations, buddy, you have Hyderabad, wherein you have 300 computers. Okay. In Chennai, you have 500 users or computers sitting there. Whereas in Pune, you have just 50 users sitting there. Okay. Now, when you're trying to push an application for just for 50 users, you are not creating a distribution point there. Okay. There is no distribution point. Assume in Pune, there is no distribution point. So whenever there needs an application, they have to go to a different distribution point, right? So say suppose I have configured Hyderabad as their distribution point. Now what will happen when you are pushing Office 2013 to all these 50 computers? All these 50 computers by default they will go to Hyderabad distribution point and start downloading the application, and then only they can install that application, right? But let's assume Office package is 1 GB. Now 50 computers are trying to connect to Hyderabad and download. So 50 GB of bandwidth is being used there, right? So to avoid that, what we can do is we can enable in the application, Office 2013 application, you have a checkbox saying that enable peer cache. So when you enable peer cache, what will happen? Instead of 50 computers target going to Hyderabad DP, only one computer will go to Hyderabad DP and it will download. So only 1 GB is used on WAN over the internet or whatever over WAN, 1 GB is used. Now the next 49 computers, instead of contacting Hyderabad DP, they'll contact this one computer which is already there in Pune, and it has Office 2013 package on its computer, local hard disk, it has that. So because of peer cache enabled or branch cache enabled, it will give this content to all the other 49 computers. So this way the next 49 computers, they are not contacting Hyderabad DP, and it is not copying data over WAN, it is just copying data over the LAN. Make sense, Manju?
I'm just trying to recollect if maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm.
I don't understand correctly or incorrectly. Like you meant to say that we are trying to pull on a machine which is there in the land. We are not going to connect the DP which is far away, and from which DP point machine which is there available there. From there we are pulling the software, and then from that connection usage, we are taking another remaining machine, and we are getting downloading the same software. Is it the same?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is the first computer, once it downloads, right? So it has the content on its local computer. Now the first computer is giving the content to other 49 machines.
Okay, yeah, that's
It
what
is
I
simple.
said, right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah, it is simple like the torrent sites, right, Manoj?
yep, yep.
From where we download movies and all. So
Mhm.
there'll be 100 devices over the cloud, and we are downloading movies or softwares, anything.
True, true, Amar. So if you go back to my initial sessions, so this was already discussed in my initial sessions. So you'll find it in my video, wherein I've given the exact example of torrents.
Okay, I understood, but still, I want to. I'm just asking a cross question. Uh, Maybe you can answer or later. Like this is in terms of only one software. If we want to install some multiple software, I mean, I'm just assuming and asking you. So if you want to install some multiple software, more than multiple software, which is not available in the same point of DP places, which is available in different DPs. So how if that can be utilized, or is it difficult again?
Sure, I got your question. So a couple of things here. So the first thing is like what is this we are talking about? Branch cache, right? See, the first step is like any application for which you are selecting this allow clients to share content with other clients on the same subnet. Okay, so this concept means, see, I'll just go through the description what it says. This option allows clients that use Windows branch cache to download content from on-premises distribution points. So content downloads from cloud distribution points can always be shared by clients. Okay, this is cloud point. Okay, that will be confusing for you. But the first point, so the option allows clients that use Windows branch cache to download content from on-premises distribution point. Okay, so now what will happen is we don't have a on-premise distribution point. So you don't have a distribution point on that particular location. So when you don't have a distribution point on that location, it is going to, based on its boundary group, whichever is its distribution point, it is going there. So now your question is, if that application is not available on Hyderabad distribution point, if it is available in Chennai distribution point, how will this machine will get the application? Am I correct? Is that your question, Manju?
Yes, similar.
Yep. So you're saying that, say suppose there are two applications. One application is there in Hyderabad, one is in Chennai, and the Pune machine requires it. So how will it get it? So the clear point is, it will only contact its the DP which is in its boundary group. It will not go to Chennai DP. Okay. So what you can do is there are two ways. One is you can select the other option what I showed you, preferred DP option. Distribute the content from this package to preferred distribution point. So what will happen? It will go to Hyderabad DP. It will say that, okay, on Hyderabad I don't have this DP. So since the application says that go ahead and download, so I'll download from Chennai or some other location to Hyderabad. First of all, it has to come to Hyderabad DP. First of all, it will be copied to Hyderabad DP. From Hyderabad DP, then the Pune user will get the application, right? So that's one way. The other way is, if even this is not selected, the only way is it will fail, saying that the application is not available on Hyderabad DP, so I'm failing. Then you have to go back to that application and distribute it to Hyderabad DP. If it is only there in Chennai and it is not in Hyderabad, you have to manually go to the application, say distribute content, and send it even to the Hyderabad DP. Right? So typically what will happen, whenever you're targeting a client, whenever you're targeting a application to a client computer, it is part of system administrator or SCM administrator's checklist that to make sure that the application is available on the to its DP. Right, we are not waiting for the logs to say that the application is not there and then it fails and then reactively you take some measure, some action. So what you will do is, as an SCM administrator, if your task is to push this application to Pune users, and you know that Pune users does not have a DP and they're going to anyway come to Hyderabad DP, the first thing you will check is my application available on Hyderabad DP or not? If it is not there, go ahead and distribute it, so that when Pune user will ask, they will get that application, right? So that should be a proactive measurement from the SCM administrator. Is it clear, Manju?
Uh,
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said yes.
Okay, okay, cool. Thank you. So we discussed about pre-stage DP, we discussed about pull DP, and we discussed this concept of peer cache, right? Now let me quickly discuss about the cloud DP as well. So now tell me, when do you think you require a cloud DP? And what is a cloud DP? Any guesses?
Applications which are on the cloud, and this would be applicable when users are over the internet.
Or it also may be a cloud-based application.
So yeah, so Amar also said that it could be cloud-based applications. So that's one thing Manju and Amar, you both are saying. And the other one, what is it, Amar? You said one more point.
When the users are on over the internet, when they are on the internet, to download any softwares or to update the device,
Okay.
they can pull it from.
And with as previously you said that there will be a application which will make available in the over site. So that kind of things, like making availability of application over a cloud base, like that maybe.
Okay. Okay. So thanks for that, both of you. So basically, Cloud DP has nothing to do with cloud-based applications. Okay. So think in a just understand this point in a way of distribution points, roles and responsibility. Why do we need a distribution point? Basically, distribution point is required to store the content, okay, to stage the content, and whenever a client machine asks, it has to give that content to the client machine, right? Now here we are not talking about cloud-based applications. When we are talking about cloud DP, the only responsibility here is, yes, the other example that you gave, which is like when the client machine is not within your perimeter, within your corporate network, it is outside. Okay. In that case, yes, that's one good example. Like they wanted the application, so what they will do is they'll connect to a cloud distribution point. So basically, you are creating one distribution point on cloud instead of having it on premises. It will be with Azure cloud, right? And you have a server there which you are using for your distribution point. So now when the client machine requires this application, because you enable the client machine, you'll say that, okay, this particular machine, okay, these are my remote machines in my entire organization. I have some 100 computers which are remote computers. So these computers, whenever they access for any application, they have to contact the cloud distribution point and download from there. So you'll enable that checkbox. Based on that, these will contact the cloud DP and get the content from there, right? Rest others, they'll have their local DPs. So this could be one scenario. The other scenario is slowly, since we are moving from DPs from on-premises to cloud, not only just SCCM or distribution point, many servers we are moving from on-premises to cloud, right? The SharePoint servers, the Exchange or whatever. So everything we are moving from on-premises to cloud, right? So here also, to avoid having a DP, say suppose we can talk about Pune and Chennai in this example. Okay, Hyderabad, since it is a big office for you, you have 300 users, 3000 users. Okay, let's have a distribution point here, and that makes sense. Maybe you have a local data center in that office, right? Within the office, you have a local data center. So in that data center, anyhow, you have some other servers also. So along with that, you will have you'll host one distribution point as well in the same location. Whereas maybe Chennai and Pune, they don't have a data center or enough staff to look into these servers, to maintain the health of the servers or to keep monitoring these servers. So what you will do, you can say that, okay, let me go ahead with a cloud distribution point. I don't want any distribution point on premises because I don't want to manage it. So let me have it on Cloud DB. So even not only for the remote users, even at the locations where you wanted to move from on-premises to cloud, yes, you can go ahead and create a Cloud DB there, and all your Chennai users, they will, instead of communicating with the local DB, they will get the content from the Cloud DB, right? Now the issue here is it's not an issue. The cost, how the cost is involved here. Okay, so basically when you're uploading any content onto a Cloud DB, okay, there's no cost involved in that, but for every MB transfer of data from the Cloud DP to a client machine is charged, right? So basically what that's the package, that's the current plan. I don't know in future if they change the plan, but the current plan is like you can upload for example, you want to upload Office 2013 there, you want to upload AutoCAD, you want to upload SAP, go ahead and upload whatever you want. You have all those now on the Cloud DP, right? Now when a particular client machine, some 10 machines are asking for Office. Now these 10 machines are downloading from the cloud like 10 GB of data. Now for every 1 MB of data, there's a cost involved. So that way, for whenever the client machine is downloading, your cost, you will be charged through Azure subscription, but there is no charge as such to store content there. Does it make sense? Guys, are you able to understand the benefit of Cloud DP?
I just missed some points from where you said that
Is
as
my,
per
okay.
MB, as for MB.
Guys, is my voice breaking? I just wanted to understand. Maybe if there's any problem with my headset. Is my voice breaking, Sai?
No, no, actually, sometimes due to the network, I guess that's from my side problem. So
Okay.
this Cloud DB, can we use it for mobile applications also?
Yes, you can use it for if you're managing your mobile devices. Yes, you can use it for that as well.
Okay.
So, Manju, you said you're not able to hear from where? I didn't get that.
No, like I just all. I mean, whenever one part is over means I'll be there in that part, no? So I'll be assuming so that I just confused from
Okay.
the place where you're saying when you're copying files, it will not charge or something like that from there.
Yep, yep. So basically, I was explaining you how the Cloud DP, the total cost of ownership for Cloud DP. So basically, what happens here is if you're trying to upload some 10 applications onto Cloud DP, right? So that part is free as per the current plan. Maybe in future they might change that as well. But in the current plan, like if you're copying any content onto the DP, it is free, but once each client starts downloading as and when they require, right? As and when a client machine requires Office package or AutoCAD, when they start downloading, for every 1 MB of download transferred, right? For that, there will be a charge associated with it, some dollars, right? So that's how when you're hosting a Cloud DP, you need to make sure that no, you will not have huge packages, okay? Because while the client machines are trying to download, that will be a problem. And then you will make sure that you have branch cache and other things enabled wherever possible, so that not every time not the client machine will not directly go to a Cloud DP. Maybe one machine will download from Cloud DP. Rather, after that, all the other 49 machines or 50 machines that you have in that environment, in that location, they'll directly download from the local machine instead of contacting the Cloud DP. So that way, wherever possible, try to make sure that the data transfer from the Cloud DP to the client machine is minimal. Otherwise, it might turn into a big mess later on, right? So actually you're saving cost by not hosting a server on your in your location, right? So you don't have a server cost involved, you don't have a resource, you don't need to pay salary to a resource to keep monitoring these servers. So all that is good. Now you have the server on the cloud, that's good. But the right usage of the server would be Cloud DP would be when you are making sure of all the other things, like as I said, branch cache and other things, right? If you're enabling them, then no, you can reduce the bandwidth utilization, and so that you can reduce the cost as well. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Amar, any questions here?
No, Manoj, nothing.
Okay, just give me a minute, guys. So this is where you'll find your Cloud DP. Okay, so currently I don't have a subscription ID. I just wanted to show you. If you have an Azure subscription ID, so I'll give the subscription ID and the certificate, and that's how you create a distribution point on the cloud. Okay, and when you go to the client settings, cloud services, allow access to cloud distribution point. Now what you will do is, if you want only some 100 machines to access cloud distribution point, as I told you earlier in the earlier session, so what you can do, you can create your own custom client device settings, right? And have only the cloud services, cloud computers. So this is only for the machines which needs to access cloud, right? Say okay. So now here you will have that setting, access, you're saying yes, and currently this is not deployed anywhere. Now if you deploy this to only a set of computers, okay, you can create a collection, in our example like Pune, okay, you can create a collection for all computers in Pune, select that. Now what will happen, rest all in Hyderabad, the 3000 users, and in Chennai the 500 users, right, they will never go to the Cloud DP. Only these 50 machines which are in Pune, because this particular enabled the device setting, the setting is only targeted to those 50 machines. Only these 50 machines, whenever they require any package, they'll go to CloudDP. Rest others will never go to CloudDP. Right, guys? Is this clear? Okay.
Yes, Manu.
Cool. So these are the main DPs that I wanted to touch upon. Pre-staged, so one is a standard DP which we are already working on, then the pre-staged DP, then the pull DP, and we looked into the cloud DP as well. Right, guys? Now, yesterday we stopped at one point, which is application catalog. So let me complete that piece. So I hope you are clear with the DPs concept, right? Let me take you to the application catalog. Okay, first of all, if you are creating an application like Adobe Reader, what are the steps that you do here? You distribute it to DP, then you create a collection. So initially this was an application. You created an application. Now you are creating a collection for that app. And finally, you deploy it, right? Deploy application to collection. So what is that you're achieving by doing this? So basically, whenever a computer which is part of this collection, okay, when the deployment happens, it is kind of a targeted, I would say, targeted audience. When you know who are your targeted audience, if you know that there are 50 computers which require Adobe Reader, this is the process that you would follow, right? Say suppose you don't have any target audience, you don't know it is just for these 50 users or just for 100 users, you don't know, then how do you do it, right? Even for this targeted audience, there are two ways that you do. You can make it available or you can make it required for this targeted audience. So that means when you are making it available, basically it is sitting in the software center, right, guys? And when you are making it is required, it is not asking anything for you, anything to the end user, directly it is installing, right? But then both the available and required options are only for these 50 users, your target audience, right? So now my point here is, if you don't know your target audience and you just need to send it to all users, make it available for all users, how do you do that? So for that, we'll use application catalog. So what will happen in application catalog is, when you publish any application like Adobe Reader, if you publish it to application catalog, any user can directly go to application catalog portal and search for that Adobe Reader application and download and install it. So that is like self-service. Any user, he himself will go to a particular portal instead of you pushing it to the his software center or to his computer. He will access a particular portal, browse for whatever the application he requires, and he clicks install, so it will download and get installed, right? So this concept of self-service is called application catalog. So here you are not targeting to any specific user or computer, you are just pushing it to all users, right? So let's see how does that work, guys. Application catalog is clear, right? The concept is clear, right?
Yes,
Now
Manu.
when you go to software center, you have this option, find additional applications from application catalog, but that is grayed out, right? You don't have a hyperlink to click and go there because the application catalog point is not created. So let me discuss about that. So in order to avail this feature, so what you need to do is you have to create two things: application catalog, you have website point, and you have application catalog web service point. So typically for any role, you will have only one point, right? Management point is for one particular software distribution, there is only distribution point, right? But for application catalog, you have 2 points. One is website point and other one is web service. So basically what it will do is website point will create the portal. Web service point will fill the content in that portal. That means it will copy the Adobe Reader and the other content, right? So it will keep on putting this content onto the website, right? So you need to create two. One will create a website and the other one will copy the content or relay the content onto that website, right? So how do we do that? So we have to actually go to site servers and we have to add a site system role. But before doing that, let's see if there are any prerequisites. Yes, it has a prerequisite, which is IAS needs to be installed on whichever server you are creating. IAS needs to be installed, and there are certain features, roles and features related to IAS. Okay, so in our case, in this SCM server, we already have IAS because we created it for our management point during the initial installation, right? In production, what will happen is you will be creating a website point on a different server. You will not be doing it on the same SCM site server. You will do it on a different server. Then you should know what is the prerequisite, right? The prerequisite is like you go to server manager. So when you click on add roles and features, okay, it is still refreshing data. Okay, so next. So here by default you have to install the web server piece, which is IAS piece, right? But since we already have installed IAS for management point and DP on the same server, we have it here. But let me show you the ones which are required. So you'll install IAS. Okay, can I make it bigger? Yep. I want to explain all of them and tell you the exact ones which are required for application catalog. Okay. So first of all, here you require a default document. Okay, so this is already installed as part of initial management point and DP. In the second node, you don't need anything. In the third node, static content compression is required for application catalog, static content compression. And here you require Windows authentication. So all these were already installed. I'm just telling you so that you will know when you are installing app catalog in a different server tomorrow. If you want to install on a different server, so you need to know what are the prerequisites for it. So in the first one, default document. Second one, you don't have anything. Third one, you have static content compression. Here you need Windows authentication. And in this, you need to select all the elements under application development. Right? So that's all you need. These are the only prerequisites to install application catalog. So let me go ahead and say next. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
was all these been checked by default, Manoj, or because it shows, right, certain of the options have been installed. Was this
Yeah.
by default installed,
No, no,
or
those are not by default
you?
installed. So that's what I'm telling you. Like we have installed management point on the same server, right? And
Okay,
distribution
so
point
at
on the
that
same
point
server.
of time,
Yeah, yeah. So if
you
you look at the initial classes, initial sessions, we did
right.
IAS as a prerequisite. We have installed IAS on the same server as a prerequisite with certain features, right? So these were the
Okay,
features which we selected earlier.
all right, right.
Okay,
So in a production environment, we'll have to take a downtime, right, mm, to install these apps, or not required?
not required. So basically, what you are doing is
At a peak.
you're taking a new server. You're taking a completely new server and you're hosting application catalog on that. So for a new server, you'll not take any downtime, right? You're not doing this on an
No, no.
existing server.
So, which is the best option? To install it on a new server? That's always the best
Yes.
solution. But in case I want to install it on the same server where IAS is there, like your management point, can we do that? Is it a good recommendation, or how?
You can do that. You can. That will not affect your performance or anything. You can still create application catalog on the same management point or the site server. You can do that.
So,
Hmm.
okay, if in case I'm doing it on a different server,
Hmm.
um, it will be on one single server, right? What would be the best location? Like then, if it is across geographies, the central location we'll have to take, or we'll have to keep each on each of the locations,
No.
like
Application.
US, Americas, Europe, and Asia Pac.
No. Okay, I'll explain the fundamental backside that. So let me just complete this next and install. So I'll explain what happens there. See, consider this as just a website, right? So if you have a website, forget about this, any website for that matter, you don't create website in multiple locations. You don't need to create website in multiple locations. So here what you'll do is you'll have this website globally for your entire organization. You'll just have application catalog point, just one. Okay, just only one website and one only on the one site server, on either a site server or a separate server, right? Now, whenever a client machine goes to that particular website and clicks on, say, suppose I require Google Chrome, he installs Google Chrome. So what will happen is the moment he clicks there, only a policy is created, and then he will download a policy of few KBs from that particular application catalog server, and after that the whole process is again the same. It will identify to which boundary it belongs, and it will go and download the content from its own nearest DP. So all that how to communicate to DP and download is same. So when the client machine is anyways communicating and downloading the content from its nearest DP, you don't need this application catalog at each and every location. Make
Okay,
sense?
got it. Yeah, got it.
Okay, so close. So now I have the prerequisites ready, so I can install the application catalog thing. So let me do that. So I'm here under site system roles, add site system roles. So Manju, as I said, this is what we do as and when we proceed. So like application catalog, web service point. So it says an application catalog web service point provides the software information to the catalog website from the software library. So from this software library, wherever you have applications, that information is relayed to the website because of this web service point. And the website point, it will actually create that website. An application catalog website point provides users with a list of available software. So it is actually creating a website and putting all those, all those softwares will be made available for the user to download. So now if I say next, so I'll not make any changes to it. So it is taking a default by IAS website, and web application name is catalog service, right? So just in case if you want to go with HTTPS, guys, it says you may be experiencing degraded audio quality. Are you able to hear me? I just got a pop-up saying that there's a degraded audio quality.
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Okay, fine. So either you can go with HTTPS if you want to go the secure layer SSL, then it will be 443 or IT. So I'm just going with the default settings. Next. So this is for the catalog website. Earlier was for the web service. So this point is web service. Okay, catalog service it says, as you can see the name catalog service. The second thing is catalog, which is website point. Okay, so here also I'll go with the default option. So only thing what it says is just concentrate on the warning symbol. So what it says, ensure that the following client settings are configured as to allow clients to connect to application catalog. What are the settings? One, application catalog website should be part of the trusted site zone, so that when the client machine is trying to contact it, it should not be it should not prevent it from accessing app catalog. So add it to the trusted site zone. That's one thing. Second thing is allow Silverlight applications to run in elevated trust mode, right? So if you have to access the application catalog console, it requires Silverlight. Okay, so it says allow Silverlight applications to run in elevated trusted mode. So these two things you have to set. So let's go say next. Put your organization name, your company name. Okay, in my case the company name is Maylab. You can put any theme. It will be just the color of the website. Okay, the theme. Okay, let's pick anything orange. Say next, close. So now in the backend, the new rules are being created. So if you want to check, you can go to the log files, see program files. Okay, this is on the client machine. Let me check on the server. C, program files, configuration manager, Sccm, configuration manager, logs. Okay, date modified. So here you'll find, can you see SMS portal web setup, right? So similarly, you will have one more for web service, SMS web service and web portal web as well. So let me open portal web setup. By the time I open, a different one was selected there. SMS portal web setup. So this is for the website point. As you can see down, it says installation was successful. The role setup is completed. Okay. Portal.web.msi exited with written code 0. So this particular role has been installed successfully. Similarly, you'll have web service setup. See if the second point is also installed. Okay. This particular MSI has exited with written code 0. Installation was successful. So now both the roles are successfully installed. So these are only for, these two logs will help you to check the installation has been successful or not. But in day-to-day issues, like if there are some issues with the portal website, right? So what are the log files that you need to check for? So you'll have web service control. So this is for anything, any problem in the web service, you'll find the errors here. Okay, this is the A web service. So this means application, application catalog, web service control log file. Okay, that's where you'll see day-to-day issues. Similarly, if there are any issues with the catalog website point, there should be a portal control. So portal web status is failed. We are set not to report it written. So it is still trying to configure the portal. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. It should say it is active. I think it happened at 7:53:27. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. So here it should say that it is active. So meanwhile, I will also show you on the client machine. Okay, I think I see some new entries here. Yep, it's online now. So this is not an error, though it shows in red color. It is not an error. So basically there is a string called failed. That's the reason it is showing an error. It's showing in red color. So don't think it as a error. Okay, what it says is has changed from failed status to online now. Failed or unknown. Initially its status was failed or unknown to online. That means it's active now, right? So it's a success status and it says completed the portal web availability, check against a local computer. So now everything is done. Now what you will do, you'll go to the client machine. See on the client machine, let me close the software. See, this is grayed out, right? So if you close and open, actually you should have the software center. But before that, if you remember, we need to make it as a trusted site, right? So where do you do that? You go to SCM server, client settings. Remember, I told you that every time if there is something related to client settings, I'll come back here. So client settings, under computer agent, add default application catalog website to Internet Explorer trusted sites zone. Say yes, right? And allow Silverlights is already selected yes, right guys? And here it is selected to automatically detect the application catalog website point. So it will automatically detect because we have already created the application catalog website, right? If it doesn't detect because of some issues, then you can also specify the URL, exact URL. In this case, I'm hoping that it will automatically detect. Say OK. Now go to the client machine. The first thing you need to do is you made a change to client device settings, right? In order for that to get applied, you should click on machine policy. So now it will become a trusted site. It is part of trusted site zone. Go to Software Center. It still did not reflect here. So while it is taking time for the policy to evaluate and make this highlighted here, meanwhile what we will do is let's publish one application to application catalog, because we wanted to see even an application on the application catalog, right? So let's do that. So where do you do it? You go to softwares and say suppose you have this Google Chrome. I think we have not deployed Google Chrome anywhere, right? We have not deployed anywhere. So the first thing what we need to do is go to properties, just put a date published to it, and go to application catalog node. Here let's have a category for it. So I'll put create a category browser. All browsers will be under this. This is just for users to search easily. When the users wants to search, it will make them their search easy. Instead of searching in all the 1000 applications, they can just go to browser section and they can get their application. If you have any documentation related to it, how to install it or how to use the application, you can always upload the user documentation. Okay, so and any description for that. So Chrome is an internet browser from Google. So there's a short description for the end user, and if you have any icon, Chrome icon, you can also put that icon here. Okay, so now apply. So with this, we have just given the application catalog properties for this Google Chrome, right? We have not yet published this, not yet deployed it to the app catalog. So let's do that. So how do you do that? Right click, deploy. Instead of deploying to a specific target audience, now you're deploying it to all users, right guys? So you say all users. Okay, next. So it is asking install or available. So make it available or make it required. You will say, okay, it should be available. And see, you have an option here, require administrative approval if users request this application. So when user is requesting this application from app catalog, so it is asking, does that mean, is it a licensed application or non-licensed application? Say suppose if it is a licensed application, you can select this option, so that what will happen is even though user is requesting that application from app catalog, it will wait for the administrator to approve it. Only then the application will be can be downloaded by the end user. So let me not make it complex now. I'm not selecting any approval. So next, so available from this particular time 5:24 2:30 a.m. That's it. All these are default things. Say next. Now you have deployed it to application catalog. Now let's go back to the client machine. Let me open Software Center once again. I'm hoping by now, yeah. See now it is, you have that hyperlink here, right? So when you click on that hyperlink, it should take you to the application catalog website. And our theme was orange, right? I think everything now you should see in orange here, right? As you can see, application catalog, the publisher, everything is in orange here. And you should see a new category called browsers, and you should have Google Chrome there, right? So you have a thing called browsers and you have Google Chrome, so I can install it from here itself. So let me first check on the client machine if I have Google Chrome. If I don't, I'll show you and install it. All programs. Okay, I don't have Google Chrome here, so let's do that. So using application catalog, I'm installing Google Chrome. Guys, are you with me? Do you have any doubts?
No, Manu.
For
Manju?
me, it's clear.
Okay. So Manju, did you say you have doubt? I didn't get your point.
No, No, I said for me it's clear.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as you can see, this is the description I gave. Google Chrome is an internet browser from Google, and then I have not provided any icon. If I had provided any icon, it would have shown the Google Chrome icon, right? And if I had any documentation or any other details, right? I have not provided any documentation, right? If I had any documentation or anything else, so it would have given me that documentation link. And if you remember, while creating application catalog, we have given the company name as mail app. That's what it is showing here. In your case, it will show your company name here. And the theme I've selected is orange. That's the reason everything is in orange here, right? Now, back to this thing. So let me install it. So when I install it, again the same funda like the DTS, CTM, your app enforce, the detection methods, it is going to the DP, everything remains same. Only thing is you're able to access it from application catalog. Are you sure you want to install this?
So all the time, app catalog will be empty only, right? Whatever we do it, then it will start storing.
Yeah. So only if you are publishing any application to application catalog for your all users, only then you will be able to see the application here. Otherwise, it will be empty. Okay. So I'm saying it says a restart may be required to complete this installation. I say okay, yes. So now it will start downloading, evaluating the requirements. So this depends on what requirements I gave there for Google Chrome, right? It is evaluating those requirements. So meanwhile, we can also open the logs. Downloading and installing. So the moment it says downloading and installing, you will find that app enforce and all that, right? Where is my app enforce log? Okay, sorry, this is on my Sccm server. Wait a minute. I should go to my C drive. C drive, Windows, Sccm, log files. Okay, so as you can see, it started downloading. So let me put the app discovery and app enforce. Google Chrome. So the first thing what happens is detection method, right? So it says MSI application not discovered because the detection method here is the product code. It says based on the product code, I did not detect the application. So I'm started downloading it. So right now it is downloading that application, right? Yep. So if I want to see what's happening for that application, I can go to app enforce. Let me put it by name, app enforce log file. Okay, it downloaded to CCM cache 3 and then, okay, it has exited also with exit code 0, success entry code. So Google Chrome is installed. And after installation, as I told you, again it will check for the detection method with the product code and it says discovered the MSI application. So the app enforce completed. So the application has got installed. So now if you see your start menu programs, you will find Google Chrome there. Right guys? Is this clear? Application catalog. Software installation is completed.
Yes. Yes, Mama.
Okay.
Any license software also can be managed such a way.
Yeah. So that's what I'm telling. So now let us do one application we'll select as requires administrative thing. So let's see what will happen. So for Adobe Reader, what we'll do, first of all, we'll select the application catalog thing. Okay. So I'll create one more category here. I'll call it as PDF viewers. Let me do it real quick. Okay. And that's it. I don't have any other information here. Apply. Okay. Adobe Reader. Deploy it to all users. Next. Here I'm selecting request administrator approval if users request this requires. So let me select this. Say next. Okay, it is available. So this time let's see how a license, consider that this is a licensed application and it requires a administrator approval. Now let's see how the user experience would be. So when the user goes here, okay, so he will refresh the page. Okay, so here's this Adobe Reader now under the category of PDF viewers. Actually, you should get a category here as well. So let me refresh once again. I think next time it will show there as well.
So, is there any limitation because for such any scenario will take like we have a software called Informatica which is 8 GB. So, does it going to affect when we are using the app catalog that when a requirement actually comes?
Okay, you're saying that is there any limitation on the size of the application, right?
Yeah, like if we are putting a software which contains a 8 GB
Mhm.
size, so will is going to be affect here while accessing something like that. Any problems will arise.
Okay, Amar, can you answer this question? What do you think? Amar, you still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Did you hear Manju's question?
It was not that clear, Manoj. Just if
Yeah, so Manju's question here is like, say suppose tomorrow you have an application which is 8 GB. Okay, so will there be any impact by or is there any limitation that I cannot or can upload those applications here, can publish those applications in app catalog? So will there be any implication?
no, because anyhow the application is pulled from the DPs, right? So it is only the instance what we are getting to see on the catalog.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
size, I doubt it doesn't matter.
Yep, yep. So Manju, so basically what's happening here is in the application catalog, we are just showing the application, publishing that application here. The moment somebody is clicking that application, anyways, it is going to the local DP to download that application and install. So the 8 GB or 10 GB package, it is actually going to its local DP to download it. It is not downloading anything from this website, right? So having said that, there is no impact. Clear, Manju?
Okay.
Okay. So now this example what I've taken here is a license based application. So if you see the earlier application, I directly got an option to install it. Whereas for Adobe Reader, since I've selected administrator approval is required, I just have a request option here, right? So when I click on request, okay, it is asking me to give the reason for it. Okay, you give like as per my work, I need this app, something like this. You gave a thing and you're submitting it, right? So before you submit, let me go to the console and show you approval requests. So currently there are no application requests here from the console. As you are logged in as an administrator, you're not able to see any approval requests. But the moment here I submit it, okay, your request is submitted. And here in my application request, I can say I have requested Adobe Reader PDF viewer. I requested on so and so date. And these are the comments that I have mentioned, right? Now what will happen is, as a Sccm administrator, I can see that here, right? Application requests, Adobe Reader, so and so user. So in this case, I've logged in with Mail App Administrator. So whoever is the user is requesting, it says so and so user is requesting for the application. So I can open it, I can see his comments, right? And if I want to approve it, right click, say approve or deny. Right. So now based on a licensed application, if I see the comments what they are mentioning is like I know that this user really uses that AutoCAD application and he is a licensed user, he needs to have access to it, I'll approve it. So when I say approve, okay, I can also mention my comments, approve. Right now when he goes back here, application catalog. See, now it has install option is there for him, right? Previously it was like requires approval. Now it doesn't require any approval because I have already approved it. So if I go to my application request, here it says the status is approved, and these are the comments from the SCM administrator, right guys? So I can go to application catalog and install it. But in this case, I think already Adobe Reader is already installed on this machine. But however, I just wanted to explain you the process, how it happens. Now since it is available for install, just like how you install Google Chrome, you can also install Adobe Reader. Clear guys? How you tackle licensed and non-licensed application?
Manohar, just a clarification here. So the administrator, if he doesn't know whether this particular user would require that application, can somebody from the client side approve it? If so, how will they do it? Will they have the console access, or they'll have another front end from where they can approve it?
Okay, perfect question. And that is a future request for the new versions of SCM. Okay, for the current version of SCM that we're dealing with, the only option what you can do is we don't get any email notification or anything to the SCM administrator. So it just comes and sits here in his console. That's the only way he or she can know. But what you can do is there are some third-party options in the same SCM console. There are options wherein you can enable email notification. And one more thing, how he is able to see this, the administrator is able to see, because in the applications, if you see for Adobe Reader,
Uh,
who is the owner
I
here?
actually
Manju, just 1 minute before I clarify this. I'll come back to
no,
you.
no, actually I didn't heard his question. What actually he asked for.
Okay, I'll also explain the question. Just give me 1 minute. So Amar's question is like, if an application owner, right? The application owner can see it from the console. So only when an application owner goes and sees in the console, only then he will be able to approve it, right? Say suppose if he is not looking at it, how do you notify him? Is there a way to notify the application owner, or can that be delegated to somebody else, like from the client client itself? They can log into some console, or they can log into some kind of a user interface wherein somebody can approve it. If not the application owner, somebody else can approve it. That was his question. So what I'm saying is, currently in the SCCM, we don't have that option to delegate permission to approve to somebody else, or some kind of a notification email coming to the application owner. Such kind of thing is not there. Maybe that's a future request which will come in the next versions of thing, because I've already heard this from multiple customers asking the same question, like can we have a kind of email notification so that the application owner will know that, or can we give access to somebody else to delegate it if the application owner is, say suppose he's on vacation, he's not there, so how can somebody else get the permissions to do that? So basically what will happen is, owner and support contacts are here, right? So what you can do is here, if it's not administrator, you can select somebody else as the application owner. That's the only way. Whoever you will select as the application owner, whichever user you will select as application owner, they will have, when they log into the console, they will have this approval request option. Okay. So currently that's the only way to handle Amar. Maybe in future you will have that enabled.
Okay, Manohar. So feature in the sense the latest version 17.10 on
17.
that it's there, or
I'm not sure. I don't think even on 1702 it's there, but I can check and get back to you.
oh,
Okay.
thank you.
And yeah, thank you. And one more thing here, if you want to set for that email notification, right? So by default, even in the current SCCM, you have this email notification option, okay, wherein you can give an SMTP and all that. But this is SCCM will send notification, but then there are this is not just for application catalog approval requests. It is for an SMTP. You're having a server connection with the SMTP, and later you can use your third-party tools or some kind of scripts to make sure to trigger a alert or to trigger a mail whenever an approval request comes to the end user, to the administrator or to the application owner. So that you can do. So, but that is not part of SCM out of the box. But SCM, what it can do is it can provide you an option to send an email notification. For that, again, you have to use your PowerShell or VB script. Okay. So let's get back to the business. So guys, are you clear with this creating an application catalog and then making use of it? Are you clear with this?
Yes, Manoj.
Okay. So with this software distribution sessions are completed, because we have discussed about packages, programs, then the differences between package with applications, right? We have created package and program, we have created application, we have looked into all the different things like supersedence, dependence and other things, right? And we have deployed to the software center as well as to the application catalog, right? And also we looked into different kinds of distribution points like the standard, pull DP, pre-stage DP, cloud DP, and we have recorded all the different log files. As and when I did the I showed that particular session, I have discussed about the log files involved in it. So this completes the software distribution part, right? So what I would suggest is, please create some applications in your environment. Okay, create a package, create an application, start pushing them to both software center as well as to application catalog. If you get any errors, take a screenshot of that and share it with me so that I can help you on that. Right guys? So
Sure.
okay, thanks. So tomorrow we'll meet to discuss on the, we'll first create a reporting service point. Okay, and then I'll show you all these reports till now what and all we have done, like inventory management reports, software distribution reports. For everything I'll just show the reports tomorrow. Okay, and if time permits I'll start the operating system deployment sessions.
Manoj, this is out of the box, not based on the training program. Probably if you
Okay.
want, you can stop the recording if nobody has got the question.
Okay, so others, do you have any other questions before I stop recording? Okay, so let me stop recording then.